This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HTC Jetstream. This is their first 10-inch Android honeycomb tablet. It's available now at AT&T stores, and as you can see, it has a really nice build quality to it and some very good features, which it should because this is quite expensive. This is one of the most expensive 10-inch Android honeycomb tablets. It's $6.99 with a 2-year contract that requires a $35 a month data plan that gets you 3 gigs, and without a contract, it is $8.49. Ouch. In contrast, the iPad 2 32 gig with 3G, not 4G obviously, on AT&T or Verizon sells for $7.29, but that does not require the contract, so more money out of pocket, but no contract involved. And we're going to take a look at the Galaxy Tab comparison, which is available on Verizon with LTE, just like this guy here, only on Verizon's network, and that one is $629 with a contract and $800 without a contract. So we're talking a bunch of pricey tablets here in general, but this guy is certainly at the top of the price range. What do you get for that? You get a really excellent display. It doesn't have quite the color saturation of the Galaxy Tab 10.1, which actually makes it more natural, but the colors are very saturated, it's very bright, it has great viewing angles, really a very nice natural display, and one that's pleasant to read on despite the usual glare from glossy tablet screens. So you get a top-notch display. In fact, everything on this is pretty much top-notch. Usually in our reviews I say, oh, you could have this, but it would cost more, you can have that, it would cost more. This has pretty much everything in it. AT&T claims 12 hours of battery life from this guy. It has a 7300 milliamp battery, for example. No scrimping on battery life, yet it's relatively thin. Not as thin as the Galaxy Tab, and we'll compare them in a minute, but fairly thin. This is your USB port. It's really one of HTC's extended USB ports, which means it's a little funky shape. You can plug a regular USB cable in there, but HTC's accessories like their MHL adapter and their power charger have the extended USB style connection, which is a little bit different looking. Charger itself is this size. It's a kind of chunky, but not too bad. And this is a 9-volt, 1.67 amp charger. Not really interchangeable with anything else on the market. If we continue looking around the sides here, nothing here, just a clean look. Up here you've got your power button. This is your headphone jack, 3.5 millimeter. This back panel is removable here. And if you yank that off, happily it's not too difficult to get off like some of HTC's phones. It's a piece of kind of rubbery plastic. We have the SIM card slot and a micro SD card slot here. And there's the 8 megapixel camera with dual LED flash. That is a very high-end camera for a tablet. Again, you get kind of the best of the best with this guy. On this side, this is the large volume control, which is kind of easy to accidentally hit. As you can see, it has an accelerometer. And as we take another look at the back here, you can see nice metal construction, beautiful brushed aluminum look here, just plastic for the caps where the antennas are to ensure good reception. We have a 4G LTE logo that's actually etched into the surface here, very nice. These are your speakers here, and this is the subwoofer, and it has SRS surround software for surround sound. Like some of HTC's phones, you can see that the edges here are actually a little bit higher. It not only looks good, but it protects the display if this falls face down. The glass does not hit first. And from what we can tell, this is Gorilla Glass. And now we'll compare it to the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. So they're about the same size. Screen certainly compares favorably on the HTC. A little bit less again on the color saturation, but more natural looking. In terms of thickness, Galaxy Tab is still thinner, being the thinnest tablet on the market. And now we'll compare it to the iPad 2 with its slightly square aspect ratio and 1024 by 768 display versus this one, which has a 1280 by 800 standard Android 10.1 inch. And the other super thin tablet being the iPad 2, of course, it's a little bit thinner. So what do you get besides really nice build quality that rivals the iPad 2s? You get a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon CPU with Adreno 220 graphics, and that's a very capable dual-core CPU. It benchmarks okay on Quadrant, around the 2000s, low 2000s, Not going to beat the Tegra 2 so far on things like Quadrant. Linpack, it does 65 for the multi-thread test, and those are fine scores, but where it really starts to shine is it does very well in JavaScript tests, and particularly in 2D graphics, where the Tegra 2 is really optimized for 3D and 3D gaming. Makes sense, NVIDIA is a gaming video card company. The Adreno 220 does very well with 2D, which means video playback. This guy can play 1080p high-profile video like nobody's business, and we'll show you that. So really good for that kind of thing. It has a gig of RAM, 32 gigs of internal storage. It's partitioned into two separate storage areas, one for application installation, one for just putting all your files. Obviously that micro SD card slot that we showed you earlier. It has 8 megapixel rear autofocus camera that can shoot 1080p video. Really amazing video. It looks like you're watching TV when you watch the video, and we'll also show you that. And you have a front-facing camera to use with Google Talk video chat. It has Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, and it's dual band N. Again, you get something for your money there. Bluetooth as well, and a GPS. Another little extra special something is the HTC Scribe Pen. Right now this is being bundled free with the price just like HTC and Sprint did with the Evo View, which is their version of the Flyer. And this is an active digitizer pen, so this is not a capacitive pen. It's a lot more precise. There's a little rubbery tip here that's fairly pointy relative to capacitive pens, and it takes a single AAA battery that's included, and you've got buttons here to control actions. And we'll show you this also. Like the Flyer, though, I'll say that this works only in certain applications. It has a custom version of Evernote on here. You can mark up PDFs. You can take a screenshot of anything and mark it up. And you can access your pen settings anytime by tapping here, and you can go straight to making a new Evernote note or taking a screenshot. While most Honeycomb tablets are pretty vanilla, that means you just get straight plain vanilla Android OS, this has HTC Sense software on it, and it really customizes Android a lot and makes it very user-friendly. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the Flyer, only it's running Honeycomb, and of course Honeycomb will be available for the Flyer and Evo View at some point. In terms of the level of customization that HTC has done, you've got your standard desktop here with all sorts of widgets. We've got a bookmark widget here and wireless controls. We've got FriendStream from HTC here. If you've used HTC Android phones, you'll be familiar with that, and you can scroll through that. And if you tap on it, you can see the full interface, which is really nicely optimized for the large screen tablet here. And you can filter from all updates, status updates, photos and videos, lists, and just links and all that kind of thing. So it's really well done. And if you want to add widgets, you can see how many HTC is added. Here, if we take a look, instead of the usual, okay, there's about 10 or so widgets maybe that you get with a Android tablet. We have the at&T Communication Manager that shows you how much you've used so far in terms of data and how many days you have left in your current month, which is pretty handy. Bookmarks are standard. So is Google Books. Look at all these calculators over here. A bunch of different calendars and agenda views from HTC. Myriad clocks. And of course, by default, you get their giant flip clock with the embedded weather. More clocks than you could ever want, clocks and weather. Featured apps on AT&T's pick list. HTC Footprints is on board here. Again, a bunch of different versions of the FriendStream widget for your social networking. HTC Likes, standard Google Latitude, a bunch of different mail widgets. More mail widgets. All sorts of mail widgets. Any view you want, you got there. Movies from Google, music, customized music player, interface that HTC has, gets linked to from there. News, and then you've got your InkNote widget over here. HTC's People, the same thing you've seen on phones, maybe not as useful here, but since you're not going to be calling people, obviously this is not a phone, but access to all your folks there in a variety of views. Photo album widgets, many wireless controls, always handy. Stock widgets, more stock widgets, all sorts of stock widgets. Then we've got Twitter pre-installed, so we've got Twitter widgets and Facebook widgets. HTC Watch, that's their movie and rental and sale service. Weather widgets, Weather Channel I've installed, so that's showing up there. So, in terms of widgets alone, you get a heck of a lot of widgets with HTC. And they've customized things like the settings. If you tap here, instead of seeing the usual boring black stuff, over here you're going to see a whole wide field of your options right here with some custom settings. Something that's interesting here is this does not have a full-size USB port. It does have that micro USB port, and we're wondering if it's host. So far I haven't had any luck connecting things using my USB on-the-go cable, but if we take a look at storage, you'll see here we have internal storage, SD card, internal storage again, because like I said, it's divided up into application storage versus general storage. USB storage listed here as an option. Very interesting. Perhaps there is USB host lurking here somewhere. In terms of HDMI out, at&T says this has HDMI out. We're waiting for word from HTC to explain exactly how this works. We're assuming that you have to use HTC's MHL adapter. Now with their phones and with even the Flyer, you could use just a generic MHL adapter, and that's something that takes the micro USB port and converts it to an HDMI port. But the power adapter has to plug into that, and because this uses that extended USB kind of plug-in, we couldn't plug in the power adapter for this, and we tried to use just a regular cell phone USB charger, plugging it in didn't provide enough power to actually get output to the TV. So you'll have to wait for our full review to find out what the deal is with HDMI out on this guy. It does have DLNA for media streaming. In terms of other customizations, if you've used HD Sense on phones, again, you can see here there's a quick shortcut to customizing your themes, your wallpaper, your skin. You can download more stuff for free from HTC Hub in terms of ringers and notification sounds, wallpapers, and more themes. And you can set your notification sound here, and you can control alarm sounds versus system volumes separately as well. And if we take a look at the application palette, again, this is the typical HTC customization. Here we have all, and this is everything that I've put on here. The shortcuts to search on the market, as you would expect. And we've got a menu for app sharing up there. And then you can switch to your frequently used. Saves a lot of time if you have a lot of stuff installed like I do. And just the things that you have downloaded. So this is one of the more heavily customized versions of Android 3.1 we've seen, and we like what we see. Samsung has done quite a bit with their TouchWiz as well for the Galaxy Tab 10.1. It's available as an optional download, so it really depends on which approach you like better. If you're more of an HTC Sense person, or if you're more of a TouchWiz kind of person. As you expect, this has the usual Android WebKit-based web browser, which is a fine web browser. It has Adobe Flash 10.3 installed and plays Flash really well. We'll take a look at that. And by the way, we're doing this over AT&T's LTE network. We are not using Wi-Fi for this. And one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to use the speedtest.net website to show you the speed. Now, whether you use the website or use the application, we found we get the same results. When we're in HSDPA on this, or HSPA Plus rather, this does have HSPA Plus. The speedtest.net app runs fine, but it doesn't know how to handle LTE, so it doesn't successfully run. By the way, that does give this a leg up over Verizon. Of course, Verizon has better coverage for LTE. They've started their rollout sooner. Right now, AT&T only has 5 cities covered, and they're expecting to have about 15 more markets added by the end of the year, covering 70 million people. But their fallback is to HSPA Plus, which is pretty fast. On average, we got 7.5 megs down and 1.2 megs upload, which is way faster than EVDO Rev A 3G on Verizon. So as a consolation prize, you're getting pretty fast data on here no matter what. Now we're going to begin our test. Now where we had full bars of signal, we managed to get 46 megs down, which is phenomenal. Of course, there's just nobody on the network right now. We happen to be in the Dallas metro area where we're lucky to have AT&T's LTE, and these speeds will probably go down the more LTE devices AT&T sells. And with a middling signal, we were getting about 29 megs down, 11 megs up in each case. As you can see right now, we're doing well. What do I want to do? Huh? So there you go. Here we are indoors. Of course, this is 700 megahertz spectrum, so that's good building penetration anyway, but we have about 2 out of 5 bars of coverage right here, and we got 26.42 megs down and 12.28 megs up, and a 74 millisecond ping time. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. That's better than certainly Wi-Fi 802.11 and BGN in most people's homes, unless you're standing right next to the router, and it's better than most of the home broadband service that folks have. So awesome. You really just it changes the way you use the device when you take it out. It's just like the Galaxy Tab 10.1. You take this out, you use it, you don't think, oh well, I'll make do until I can get to a Wi-Fi connection. No, you're just flying right along here. And while we're talking about LTE, you can see here we're in our network settings here for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, VPN, mobile networks, which means your cellular network. And there's no option here for mobile hotspot. That means you can't turn this into a wireless modem and share your LTE connection with other devices, which is a shame since Verizon offers that feature. And you have an option here for data roaming and enabling always-on mobile data. Now that test used Flash as well, but that's not the most exciting test of it. So here we are on the full YouTube site, and we're going to test out our usual X-Men trailer. Let's see, Flash. Then we'll go with the HD version, and we will use the web browser so that it uses Adobe Flash. And again, this is over LTE. Not only can do this, it can do Crackle as well. I watched a 2-hour movie using Crackle, which is Adobe Flash based, last night, and it used about 11% of the battery. Remarkably good battery life on this. As well as very good Flash playback. Pause controls, rewind and fast forward work just fine on Crackle. Sometimes that's a problem on Android tablets.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States. The cause for freedom is all.
Working fine. This also supports Amazon Video on Demand, Amazon Prime Video as well. Pretty much any Flash-based media is going to work on this. And in terms of multimedia, we also have Netflix. Now, no hacking required, no rooting, no nothing. You just look on the Android market, and there it is. It's available to download, and yes, it works. How awesome is that? So it joins the Lenovo tablet, 10-inch tablet, and being able to play Netflix officially, without hacks. So there we are. We're just going to resume the video that last been watching. And with Netflix, it has to buffer up to get the best video quality. It takes about 45 seconds, and you have sharp video.
Oh God, no, I'm not hitting on you. I'm actually married. I'm just an open person, and I like connecting with people. I'm, very comfortable around women, attractive women. I've spent a lot of time with them, and I don't know. I feel like we might be taking up too much of the forum's time. Maybe we can just exchange numbers. Maybe go away one weekend.
And now it's finished buffering, and it's looking sharp. So there it is, Netflix on the go. Great way to consume your LTE data.
Fixed for months, and nobody's done anything, and it's ugly, and it's dangerous, and it's government-owned.
Speaking of LTE data, if you get this without a contract, they offer a 250 meg plan, which is insane. Don't even do it. You're going to look at the device, you're going to use 250 megs. Otherwise, they have a 2 gig plan, which costs $25 a month, and each additional gig is $10. So the pricing ends up being about the same as Verizon. Verizon offers initial buckets that are bigger. If you want, you can get a 5 or even an 8 gig plan, but the pricing ends up the same. They just bill you an additional $10. If you already have an AT&T plan, they can put it on your existing bill, even though it's not with a contract, and you just pay that postpaid style. Or you can put it on a credit card if you prefer, and you can prepay your data that way. And if you get it with a contract, as I said, they require the 3 gig $35 a month plan with this. And while we're looking at the browser, you can see that HTC has customized the look a little bit. We've got big back and forward buttons over here. Quick link to your tabs, adding bookmarks and all that kind of stuff, and searching. And also, if you drag the page down, you can see any open windows you have. You can close them if you wish, or start a new window, so you can switch between windows easily. And if you hit the plus mark, it'll open up a new page with your default home page, which AT&T sets to their version of the Yahoo homepage. Let's take a look at some more multimedia. We're going to look at video playback of locally stored MPEG video now. We're going to use the gallery application to do that. So HTC is also customized. Look at the gallery a little bit again with their theme strip up here. And then we have a handy separation between camera shots, all photos, all videos, movies here and movies here, because we have movies on our SD card and we have movies on internal memory, and then images that may be associated with files. They don't appear inline like they do in some Honeycomb tablets, which is nice. You don't see 1,000 assets from your Zinio magazine or something like that mingling with all your photographs. First thing we're going to take a look at is movie playback. First we're going to play our 720p high profile Serenity trailer. 720p obviously is a natural fit for this size display. If we play 1080p, it's actually higher resolution than the display is. This is a trailer because it's high profile that actually gave some tablets a hard time, but this is doing well. You can hear the speakers. Volume, its fullness, and clarity very nice on this. This is right up there with the Galaxy Tab 10.1. It's a great audio quality in the tablet. Loud. So that plays perfectly well. And let's up the ante and try to play a 1080p high profile video. This obviously would be handy for HDMI out more than playing it on the internal panel.
We're talking about huge potential for millions of people. Our therapy enables the brain to repair itself. We call it the cure.
Again, really good smooth playback.
Stop
A
testing.
lot of Honeycomb tablets have a problem with this.
We test one subject. I want to make sure it's stable.
And next we're going to move over and discuss camera quality for a bit. This takes very nice still images. In low light conditions it's a little bit reticent to use the dual LED flash. I don't know why, and turning it on really helps because you will see some noise in really dim locations. Video recording is amazing. It's up there with Nokia. It's the first time I've ever gotten to say this about HTC, but this in fact is better than anything I've seen from Nokia. Recording 1080p 30 fps video. And here's a video we just shot at the local Walmart so you can see the quality, and this looks like TV quality at least.
Good indoor lighting. The HTC Jetstream.
Good frame rates, no blockiness, no interpolation. Really fantastic stuff. Amazing, amazing video camera on this. If you don't mind holding something that's 10 inches around and using this to record video, it's stunning. So this ships with the standard Honeycomb YouTube player, which is a very nice experience. This plays a HD mobile version optimized for Honeycomb tablets. And really it looks as good as playing flash video, so I have no problems using that. And you get the nice wall of video. Look right here. And we'll check out some motocross action. And again, we're still doing this over LTE. Pops out the full screen. Looks really good.
How has my outdoor season been? Started off short, or it hasn't been the best because I came in a little bit injured with the wrist, and it just was tough for me. I don't know. I struggled a lot.
Really excellent. That's definitely better than the mobile YouTube presentation on the iPad even. In terms of ebook readers, this ships with Amazon Kindle pre-installed. You can also put Barnes & Noble Nook on here, Kobo Books, Aldico for reading, side-loaded publications, you name it. And the screen being good quality as it is, it makes for a nice reading experience if you don't mind LCD ebook reading. The device has a GPS that comes with the usual Google Maps and navigation, and since this does have 3G and 4G, that means that you can actually use this on the road and download map data on the go if you want to. And AT&T Navigator is also on board. One nice thing about Navigator here is they don't, if you've already got Navigator set up with your AT&T phone, they don't make you pay for yet another iteration of AT&T Navigator. You just enter your mobile phone number for your AT&T phone if you've got Navigator set up on it already, and then you get to use this without any additional charge. And the presentation obviously is going to be different from phones because, well, it's a much bigger screen, and they've done a pretty nice job, Telenav. So you're presented with their typical 2D map over here. You can zoom using the controls over here, and you can also pinch zoom, which works fairly fluidly. You can get driving directions, you can speak to it and tell it what you want to do, and for places is pretty handy. You can look for these kinds of typical POIs, food, coffee, ATMs, gas, and you can also look for your saved favorites, your home address, your work address, those kinds of things. And if we look at extras, you can get local movie listings and local weather. And apparently they're planning on adding some more since it says coming soon, more. And soon you'll be able to change voices if you don't like the usual telenow lady's voice. And you can change your car on the map, which is pretty funny. You can go just an arrow pointer, a compact car, a convertible, or what we've chosen, a main battle tank. Now, since this doesn't have an NVIDIA Tegra 2 CPU, you don't get to use Tegra 2 zone games, which is too bad because NVIDIA's been doing a big push to try to bring some pretty nice games to the Honeycomb platform. But nonetheless, this is a very capable gamer, and we have Need for Speed Shift HD on here. This is a demo version. You have to buy the full version if you want, but you can start out on a test track driving a nice BMW. And it plays very smoothly. And loudly. I'll just take it for a quick race. And this uses the accelerometer. Typical Need for Speed is very easy to control. Game playback is very smooth. Well, there's plenty of 3D gaming power in there. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon CPU with Adreno 220 graphics. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the HTC Scribe Pen, which is included with the device when you get it from AT&T, at least for now. So this is an active digitizer pen. As I said, it's much more precise in using a capacitive stylus and pleasant to use. And HTC has set this up to work pretty much like the Fly. You have access to Evernote right here, taking a screenshot which you can scribble on. You can also annotate PDFs, which is nice. And you can get to your pen settings over here as well. So we'll do a new note. And you've got a giant note. And you can choose from various tools, your crayon, a paintbrush, highlighter. We can change the colors like so, and you can change how big the tips are. We can get really small, for example. Small tip, much better for drawing, generally speaking. Highlight over things. So there's the pen in Evernote, very handy for if you want to draw diagrams, take notes, that kind of thing. And a little bit more exciting is if you use something like Alias Sketchbook Express, which actually works very well with the pen. Here we are with some doodling that I've been doing here, and you can see it does a fairly good job of palm rejection. Here I'm leaning on the screen pretty heavily. I'll just draw another one of our strange little wine glasses. Right here, and it works very precisely. So if you're into drawing and painting, sketching, this is pretty awesome, definitely. And it's good to see the pen working well with a couple of apps besides Evernote and the PDF viewer and the screenshot function. Speaking of the screenshot function, we'll go back to our web browser for a minute. And if we want to take a screenshot, we take a screenshot of that, and it saves it, and then we can use the Scribble app to draw on it. So it's a little bit like the OneNote experience on Windows. So that's the HTC Jetstream, available for AT&T, not available in a Wi-Fi only version at this point. And battery life, again, as I mentioned, surprisingly good. So far we're still running tests on this, but I have not been able to kill it using it heavily all day long, running LTE, running Wi-Fi, watching streaming movies off of Crackle, and it still had 40% battery left at the end of the day, so that's very impressive. I'm guessing this probably will achieve about 10 hours on average battery life per charge. The price is high. What you get what you pay for it to a certain extent. I still think AT&T is marking this up a bit higher than they really should be, but still, you're definitely probably getting the nicest Android Honeycomb tablet on the market in terms of build quality, fantastic display, an amazing video camera on this thing, the ability to use this pen, handy for vertical markets, also handy for folks who like to sketch, draw, that kind of thing, take notes, ink fashion rather than typing on an on-screen keyboard. You have the GPS, dual band, Wi-Fi 802.11, and the usual 1280 by 800 pixel capacitive multi-touch display here, the GPS. Again, LTE with fallback to HSPA+, 4G on AT&T's network. And you get HTC Sense software on here, which is one of the biggest customizations we've seen of Honeycomb so far, right up there with TouchWiz, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know if that's going to slow down getting OS upgrades to this guy or not. We'll have to see. HTC is usually pretty diligent about getting OS upgrades to their products. I think that it makes it friendlier and easier to use. Certainly if you're coming from an HTC smartphone running Android, it'll seem much more familiar to you for that. A couple of things we would have liked to have seen is direct HDMI out. And we'd also like to see mobile hotspot feature so we can actually use this guy as a wireless modem for other devices. After all, you are paying for your data plan already. You should be able to use it however you see fit. And again, Verizon does offer that feature. Who knows? Maybe it'll come to this. Maybe it won't. In the meantime, I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HTC Jetstream 10.1-inch Android Honeycomb tablet. Be sure to visit our website for the full review.